The House Transportation, Mobility, and Infrastructure Committee will come to order. Will the clerk please take attendance?
Chair Shannon.
Present.
Representatives McDonald. Present. Coleman.
Here.
Conlon.
Here.
Farhat.
Yep.
Fitzgerald.
Here.
Hoskins.
Here.
Miller.
Here.
Outman.
Here.
Roth.
Here.
Bruck.
Present.
Koontz.
Here.
St. Germain. Here. Mr. Chair, you have all members present. You do have a quorum.
I need a motion to adopt the minutes from last meeting, September 26th. Representative Roth makes that motion. Seeing no opposition, the minutes are adopted. Today on the agenda, we'll be voting on House Bills 4845 and Senate Bill 22, and then take testimony on Senate Bill 87 and House Bills 4478 and 5059. To get things started, we'll first be taking the votes. First up is House Bill 4845. No cards to read on that one. I need a motion to report House Bill 4845 with recommendation. Rep. Koontz makes that motion. Will the clerk please take the roll call vote?
On the motion to report, Chair Shannon.
Yes.
Representatives McDonald.
Yes.
Coleman.
Yes.
Conlon.
Yes.
Farhat.
Yes.
Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Hoskins.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Outman.
Yes.
Roth.
Yes.
Bruck.
Yes.
Koontz.
Yes.
St. Germain.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have 13 yeas, 0 nays, 0 pass. House Bill 4845 is reported with recommendation.
House Bill 4845 is reported with recommendation. Up next is Senate Bill 22. I need a motion to report Senate Bill 22 with recommendation. Representative Bruck makes that motion. Will the clerk please take a roll call vote?
On the motion to report, Chair Shannon.
Yes.
Representatives McDonald.
Yes.
Coleman.
Yes.
Conlon.
Yes.
Farhat.
Yes.
Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Hoskins.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Outman.
Yes.
Roth.
Yes.
Bruck.
Yes.
Koontz.
Yes.
St. Germain.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have 13 yeas, 0 nays, 0 pass. Senate Bill 22 is reported with recommendation.
Senate Bill 22 is reported with recommendation. Up next, we have Representative Price and Pastor Dietrich Tupper and Linda Butler discussing House Bill 5059. And the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chairman Shannon and members of this committee, for the time and opportunity today to be able to speak on behalf of my bill. This bill would designate M39, the Southfield Freeway, which is in my House District 5. It would designate it the Bishop P.A. Brooks Memorial Freeway. Bishop Brooks pastored to his congregation at the new St. Paul Tabernacle Church of God for over 60 years, right off the freeway we intend to name him for. He was a great man of faith, compassion, generosity, and charity who inspired the lives of countless Detroiters and followers across the nation via his March of Faith television ministry. Bishop Brooks continued ministering to his followers during the beginnings of the COVID-19 pandemic and died as a result of his pastoral care from COVID-19 complications on April 9th, 2021. We hope that invoking his name on M39 will evoke the gratitude and cherished memories of a community still grieving his loss, while inspiring a new generation to public service. I'm very honored to be joined here today by Linda Butler and Pastor Dietrich Tupper. Both Linda and Pastor Tupper were long-standing members of Bishop Brooks Church, and they are here to testify today.
Thank you for having me. I am Linda Butler, and thank you all for the opportunity to speak on behalf of my pastor. Just want to give you kind of a bird's eye view as to why we feel like this is befitting for our pastor. He had a deep passion and generosity were reflected in his ministry as a pastor and as a denominational leader, serving as the first assistant presiding bishops of the Church of God in Christ, the largest black Christian denomination in the nation with an estimated membership of 6.5 million. Despite Brooks' national stature as the second in command of Church of God in Christ worldwide, his busy travel schedule that included special invitations to participate in prayer services for incoming presidents of at the Nation Cathedral in Washington, D.C., he remained strongly connected to the city that welcomed him over 60 years ago. Brooks' ministry was inextricable linked to the cultural and political identity of the city. He was very close to former Detroit Mayor Coleman Young, who trusted him and frequently used his church as an important venue for meetings crucial to the advancement of the Detroiters. When Aretha Franklin, the Queen of Soul, needed a pastor to talk to, she called on Bishop Brooks. Also, the U.S. Fund for UNICEF in 2016 announced a partnership with Brooks to secure the support for vulnerable children around the world. Bishop Brooks founded the New St. Paul Tabernacle Church of God in Christ, the first church-owned mortgage company in the country. Bishop Brooks was the first African-American pastor to broadcast on television in Detroit and also produced the first national Kojic television special. Bishop Brooks was known among the various clergy and denominations of the state of Michigan as the gatekeeper, as well as the spiritual father to many of the pastors in Michigan. In 1975, he was appointed jurisdictional prelate of the first historical jurisdiction of Michigan, known as the Northeast Michigan Jurisdiction. That same year, he established the March of Faith television broadcast. A dynamic speaker and deliverer of the word, Bishop Brooks was the first African-American pastor to broadcast on the television in Detroit. The broadcast aired WGPR 62, the first black-owned television station in the country. The March of Faith broadcast ministry continues to this day, both on radio and television. Bishop Brooks also expanded his local ministry into a variety of community outreach programs. Among the projects he established and partnered are the Grandmont Rosedale Christian Day School, the New St. Paul Nonprofit Housing Corporation, the Faith Community Mortgage, Faith Manor Senior Citizens Apartments, New St. Paul Community Development Center, the New St. Paul Head Start Agency, the Adopt an Angel program that provides for homeless single mothers and their children during the Christmas holiday, the Public Service Day, where we recognize and acknowledge all public service workers, Faith-Based Day, that's where all the clergies of all denominations will come together and fellowship and have communion. Detroit will remember Bishop P.A. Brooks as a leader who used his faith to serve humanity. And again, it is only befitting to rename the Southfield Freeway in Detroit that stretched from Lincoln Park on the south end to Southfield on the north, which is a 16-mile-long north-south Bishop P.A. Brooks Freeway. We have Pastor Dietrich Tupper, who served Bishop personally during his travels and around the world.
The Detroit News.
Bishop, can you just turn on the mic? Just hit that red button.
The Detroit News had this headline at the passing of Bishop P.A. Brooks. Detroit without Bishop P.A. Brooks is a city without a spiritual father. Bishop Brooks served and sponsored individuals around the world, Africa, Haiti, Asia, South Africa, established Kojic Social Services of Michigan to address physical, emotional, and psychological needs of youth, young adults, individuals with special needs. He served on the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American Museum and was its parliamentarian as well. Established partnerships with utility companies to provide homeowners with energy savings programs and residents in Wayne County. He provided funding for UNICEF to address the Ebola crisis, served 12 years on the board of directors for First Independence Bank, served 8 years as a board of director for the Michigan State Licensing Bureau for Social Workers. And he served as the inductee of 5 Ethiopian Jewish Pentecostal churches in the nation-state of Israel. It is our prayer and our hope that you would consider Bishop P.A. Brooks in renaming the Southfield Service Drive Freeway after him for his continuous service and love for humanity. He embodies both the moral and spiritual best of all of us. Thank you so much.
So I will open up to questions. If there were any, doesn't seem to be any questions. We do have a question?
Yeah, if I can, I just want to add something.
Yes, Representative.
I do want to thank Representative Price for bringing this forward today. I'm a younger fellow on the committee here, but I had the opportunity to work in Wayne County government for a while before coming here, and Bishop P.A. Brooks' legacy does live on in a lot of the work that I saw, and a lot of the communities he touched. And for those that don't know, in Detroit, the faith community there, I mean, when you were talking about building a community, it was built around faith.
Yes.
And that's truly something that is remarkable, and how we need to honor and revere it. And I appreciate the representative for bringing this forward today. And I think this is a great idea.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for your testimony, Representative. Thank you for coming in. We are actually going to do things a little bit different with highway naming bills. We're going to vote on them on the day of testimony. So this will be the first one that we're going to do that way. So I do need a motion to report House Bill 5059 with yes. Oh, okay. So you're good then? Okay. Okay, so I'll start. I need a motion to report House Bill 5059 with recommendation. Rep. Conlon makes that motion. Would the clerk please take a roll call vote?
On the motion to report, Chair Shannon?
Yes.
Representatives McDonald?
Yes.
Coleman?
Yes.
Conlon?
Yes.
Farhat?
Yes.
Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Hoskins?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Altman?
Yes.
Roth?
Yes.
Bruck?
Yes.
Coons?
Yes.
St. Germain?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have 13 yeas, 0 nays, 0 pass. House Bill 5059 is reported with recommendation.
House Bill 5059 is reported with recommendation. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
So next up for testimony, we have Jenny Geis here on behalf of Senator Moss, and Erin Shore. I know she was going to be in and out, so I'm not sure if she's in right now. But we can start out with Jenny Geis to give testimony on behalf of Senator Moss.
Good morning. I'm Jenny Geis, Legislative Director for State Senator Jeremy Moss. Appreciate the opportunity to speak on Senate Bill 87. This bill is a cleanup to last legislative session, Senate Bill 1064. Last year, the legislature voted to increase the time period from 15 to 21 days when a dealer sells, leases, or exchanges a certain vehicle or engages in the sale of vehicles or vessels when applying for a new title or transfer or securing registration plates and a certificate of registration. It also increased the late transfer fee for a title from $15 to $50. Specifically, Senate Bill 87 addresses one section that was accidentally overlooked, and it's specific to non-dealer vehicle transfer timelines and fees. So it applies the same changes of a non-dealer title transfer from 15 to 21 days, and as well as increases the late title transfer fee from 15 to 50. So again, appreciate your time today, and we also have obviously the wonderful Aaron Shore, and I think the auto dealers is here today too.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Erin Shore from the Michigan Department of State. I was just looking through, and I think Jenny already covered everything I had to share with you, but yes, just looking to make sure that this section aligns with the other changes we made to give a little bit more time, but then update the fee, which has not been changed in quite a long time, so that it matches the fees in other sections of the vehicle code.
So it looks like we do have a question. Representative Kuntz.
Thank you both for coming today. My question is the financial impact on the Secretary of State. Why do we need to raise the fee?
Primarily, it's there as a deterrent, just to make sure that people do file their paperwork in a timely manner so that a purchaser doesn't get caught in a situation where they can't get their title.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, why do we care? If they don't file within 15 days or 21 days or 30 days, so what?
It's a protection for the purchaser. They need the title.
But it's their decision, isn't it? I mean, it's the purchaser that's going to pay the penalty if they decide, oh, my financial situation changed, I can't plate this, the Secretary of State's backed up. There's 100 reasons why I can't make it there in 15 days. Maybe I'm not going to register this for a month. I don't see why we need to penalize them for that.
I think in that case there would be liability for the seller because the vehicle would still be titled in their name, and what if it was abandoned or used in some improper manner? You really wouldn't want that vehicle still titled in the name of someone who's not responsible for it any longer.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Representative Bruck.
Thank you for coming here today. A question, does this apply to both dealers and non-dealers?
This would just,
Like private individuals? I should say?
last year we updated it for dealers, and so this would make the same change for private individuals.
Okay, and maybe on the same lines as Rep. Coons had mentioned, does this place undue stress on those sellers or buyers? I mean, with a dealer, dealers understand there's these time limits. Dealers are very good with it where you have a private individual that sells their vehicle. That fee goes, against the buyer, correct?
Yes, I believe that's correct.
Okay.
We're
But as
extending
far as
the,
he's still liable to seller, like I just, I don't know if that's enough time, I guess, and if the fee is,
we are extending the time. Right now it's 15 days, and this would give them 21 days instead. I mean, private party sales right now go into our branches because we need to verify their odometer reading and their proof of insurance and those things. So I don't believe we collect many late fees. I would assume in most cases when we have them in the branch, that's when they apply for the title transfer anyhow.
okay. Okay, thank you, Chair.
Representative St. Germain.
Thank you, Chair. I guess my concern is we're talking about boats and recreational vehicles as well, right? Anything that can be titled?
I would have to double check. Some of those other vehicles, such as watercraft, are in the Natural Resources and Environmental Protection Act. They're not covered within the vehicle code.
Okay.
So I don't think we actually do cover ORVs and boats within this.
Okay. Well, and I guess just with that being said, I guess I would like to know that answer. My son just bought a boat, and my concern with this is, you have to pay the taxes when you go to, transfer the title. And it took a little bit of time for him to save up the money to pay those taxes. So that could be a concern.
I can double check that. and
Okay,
get that
thank you.
information.
Representative Fitzgerald.
Thank you so much, Chair. So with regard to the fee increase from $15 to $50, how was that derived? So I mean, are there other fees associated in the Department of State that would be matching, or that this would be more or less in line with, rather than saying, you know, we chose 50 because it's a necessary increase and a deterrent, especially with the additional time. But are there other fees associated with other title transfers or other mechanisms within the Department of State that this would be in line with?
Well, certainly, as I mentioned, when we passed Senate Bill 1064 last year, for dealers, we increased the late transfer fee from 15 to 50 at that point, so that's the fee that's set there. I was not with the department at the time that they negotiated that fee, so I don't know everything that went into making that calculation beyond the inflationary aspect to it. But that was certainly an important piece of the change, and this would bring that private party fee to line up with the fee for dealers.
I appreciate that explanation. I mean, there's a lot of personal responsibility here too, and so extending this time to 21 days, I think, is extremely appropriate, and so I appreciate your extra comment today. Thank you.
Representative Coleman.
Thank you, Chair. I agree with extending, just a comment, I agree with extending the time to 21 days. To more than triple the fee, though, it seems excessive. And you know, private parties buying and selling cars, it's kind of on a different level than dealers. The dealers are making it's their business, they're making a profit. When you're more than tripling the fee, it just seems a bit excessive to me.
If you don't mind.
Please.
Actually, this year actually I sold a car and had lots of miles on it, but the person I sold it to, they started driving it. They went straight to the Secretary of State, provided all the paperwork. They had to make sure that the car loan I had on it was, paid off and all those kinds of things. So, I mean, obviously this is anecdotal, but they went straight because they wanted to drive the car. So I can't say for all private, transactions, but I mean, usually when you sell a car, they want to drive it right away. So they got to go to Secretary of State, make sure they have all the paperwork filed and taken care of so they can go on the road and not, have any other issues. So
I could double check how old that $15 fee is too and let you know that.
Any other questions? Representative Farhat.
On the subject of fees, the fee is only assessed if it's beyond the time window, or is it assessed at the time it's done? Right? I just want to make sure my understanding is correct. So if I go in, I sell my car on Monday, and I go in today. Let's say I sell it today. So today's Tuesday. I go in, I walk in, and I do all the paperwork I need to do. I don't get charged that in this case, $15 fees currently is, right? So the fee is only assessed if I do it outside of what is currently statute, the 14-day window?
That's correct.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I understood that. Thank you.
Any last questions? Thank you so much for your testimony. I do have a card to read in. Does not wish to speak. Kurt Berryman of the Auto Dealers of Michigan supports the bill. Okay, so up next, we have a presentation from the Asphalt Pavement Association of Michigan. So testifying will be Brett Stanton, who's the executive director, Chuck Mills, director of engineering, and Jerry Hartman, president of the board of directors, and also joining Kirk Brukink. So several of you up here. Whoever would like to get started.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair and distinguished members of this committee. We appreciate the opportunity to come in today and give you an introduction on who the Asphalt Pavement Association of Michigan is, who our members are, and a little bit about what asphalt materials are. So without further ado, we will get rolling here. So just wanted to kind of outline our introduction here. Asphalt mixtures provide an economical, durable, and smooth solution to Michigan's transportation needs. Asphalt mixtures have many different applications and are extremely sustainable. So whether that be for a parking lot or a racetrack or a highway, we can engineer these products to basically withstand any traffic level that we need. Every year currently, so this is currently, there's about 15 million tons of asphalt mixtures produced in the state of Michigan. So putting that into something that you can visualize, that's equals about 25,000 lane miles, or enough to cover the circumference of the earth. So quite a bit of hot mix miles to lay down. So who are we? The Asphalt Pavement Association is a nonprofit trade group. We were formed back in 1950 to represent the interests of the asphalt paving industry. We represent asphalt producers. So those are the folks that actually have asphalt plants that combine the aggregates, the liquid asphalt, and produce the actual mixture itself. The laydown contractors are the pavers, the ones that you actually see out there on the road that are actually laying the material down. Suppliers, whether it be asphalt liquid suppliers, aggregate suppliers, specialty chemical suppliers, or other suppliers that provide product to be included in the asphalt mixture. Subcontractors, so this could be dirt contractors, fencing guys, anybody else who's performing work out on a project. Equipment and product vendors, so the folks that provide the trucks, the equipment, laydown operations, consulting engineers, transportation companies, and finally technology groups. Those are to name a few. So our mission statement, obviously, we promote the use of asphalt pavements, and we do that through unmatched quality, integrity, and innovation. Our core values are innovation, collaboration, excellence, and integrity. And so we do that via 3 pillars. To advocate, so today here, educating everybody about the Asphalt Pavement Association, about asphalt mixtures. Obviously with developing relationships and then working on market share. We collaborate with folks like MDOT, the local agencies, and then other partners like private entities that actually lay down material and developing specifications and coming up with ways to innovate and make sure we're putting out the best product possible. And then to cultivate, obviously to educate, support our members, and put on events to get people together to work on collaborating and moving the industry forward. These are some of our producer members. You probably have seen their logos around. We gave a handout. So on the back side of that handout kind of gives you an idea of where these producer members operate at. So you can kind of look at what your district is and kind of see who's operating in that area. So again, these are the folks that have asphalt plants that actually make the material, combine the aggregates, the asphalt cement, and the other products to produce asphalt mixtures. And then majority of them also are laydown contractors that actually place the material out on the highway. Associate and paver members, like I mentioned before, these are the vendors, the suppliers, the consulting engineers, all the other people that work together to produce the transportation network that you are out there driving on day in and day out. So our socioeconomic impact, our industry employs basically 30,000 employees. So that's, again, from all the different vendors, the laydown contractors, the producer members, and then roughly $5 billion today in current dollars with the current tons that are out there is used in our industry. So a little bit more about what we do. Collaborate with MDOT and other owners. So you may or may not be aware, in most states, the DOT specification is kind of the gospel. Most other entities like the counties, other cities and villages will work off from the DOT specification. We spend a lot of time working with the DOT on specifications, processes, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. The Department of Transportation has one of the toughest specifications in all of the land. It is very tough. It promotes a quality product, and that is exactly what our goal is, to produce the most cost-effective, long-lasting, and smoothest pavements out there. And like I mentioned before, educate and train members. We are, like every other industry, trying to get more people in the doors to work, and they don't just come off the street and ride on the back of a paver and lay down a quality mat. These individuals need to be trained on how to do that. They need to be trained on how to be safe while they're out there. And so we work with our members to set up training. work with the designers and owners on how to design pavements. Like I mentioned before, we can basically design or engineer for the application, but again, that doesn't come without having some experience and some background in the process. We assist the designers and policymakers on how to select and maintain the right asphalt pavement. What we'd put out on, say, 496 is a recent example of a project that's under construction. It's not something we'd put out here on Ottawa Street. So we want to make sure that we have the right product for the application. And then host events. It's all about networking and knowing when you have an issue and you need to phone a friend, who is that friend you're going to phone? So that's another one of our many benefits to the industry is trying to get people together to build relationships. And then now I'll turn it over to our Director of Technical Services, Chuck Mills, who's going to go through a little bit about what asphalt mixtures are.
Thanks, Brett. Happy to be here today presenting in front of this group. You know, what are asphalt mixtures? A lot of people see what the blacktop on the road and that, but what's it really made up of? So we thought we'd kind of give you a little introduction of that today. So like Brett said, asphalt mixtures are a blend of aggregates. Asphalt cement, that's the glue, that's the black, that's the liquid asphalt. And then any other types of materials. There are different recycled materials that we can incorporate into asphalt, additives, different chemicals that make up and produce a good performing asphalt. So it's important that the aggregates, are very durable. They have certain properties and characteristics to them so that we can incorporate those into the mixture for the intended use. Like Brett said, we can design an asphalt pavement for many different uses. You got your golf cart path that's, 2 inches thick, and you've got the interstate pavements that are 12, 13 inches thick. And there's different layers, and they're all designed a little bit differently. Usually the thicker pavements, the lower layers are a little bit larger stone in those to kind of dissipate the load. And then as you get up into the surface, you have finer graded aggregates in those, and you get that nice smooth surface. So asphalt cements, the glue that holds all those aggregates and sand together, that's specifically engineered as well. We have different grades of asphalt cements for different parts of the state. As we get up north, it's a little cooler, so we have asphalt cements that are a little more flexible so that as it freezes, they don't crack, they don't become brittle. So there's a lot of engineering that goes into this stuff, so I won't get into too much details. I don't want to bore everybody, but it is very important that we're combining things together specifically for a certain purpose. Some of the other recycling, we've got a slide on it, but RAP, recycled asphalt pavements. We can recycle our materials, like as the pavements age, we mill those up, take those back to the plant, and we can incorporate that into the mixture as well. So we're reusing those aggregate resources as well as some of that liquid asphalt. So yeah, go ahead. How are the asphalt mixtures made? This is the asphalt plant. This is where, as Brett said, our members, our producer members, they're the ones that own these plants. This picture here is showing one of the new plants here in Michigan. And, an asphalt plant is a very specialized machine because we are combining all these different aggregates, the liquid asphalt and that, and it has to be done at the right proportions to meet the specifications. So when we put up one of these plants, it's pretty expensive. It's something that has to be planned for, and it is a big expense. And we need to be able to have, if we decide to put up a plant, we've got to know that the work is coming for that. So they're very state-of-the-art. There's a lot of people that work at these plants. You have QC and QA that's being performed. So QC is what we call quality control. So the contractor has people on the ground collecting samples of those aggregates and of the mix after it's gone through the plant to make sure that that's going to meet those specifications. Like Brett said, MDOT has very tough specifications, but it gives us a good quality product. So as they're producing, we got to make sure that we're making that product that's going to meet those specifications, because that's how you get paid. We're bidding these jobs as a low bid environment, but we got to make sure that we're meeting those specifications so that they can get paid for the work they do. So how are asphalt mixtures constructed? Once we've got the mixture made at the plant, we transport it out to the job in trucks, and the trucks back up to the paver grabs the trucks put the mix into the paver. The paver's responsible really to make sure that they're putting down the asphalt to the right thickness, width, and grade, and they're also responsible to make sure that the road gets paved smoothly. The way a paver works is we call it a floating screed. So as the material goes through it, that's what gives us the opportunity to really smooth out the road when we're repaving a road. Then we have rollers behind the pavers that their job is to compact the mixture. You lay down the asphalt mixture while it's hot, and as it cools, you want to roll that to compact it. We call it getting density on that mixture. And that's going to make that mixture so that air and water can't get into it, and that gives it that long-lasting durability. So compaction is a very important part of the whole construction process. And then again, we have testing that's constantly being performed. The contractor has their QC technicians out there. They're checking the density. After the rollers go over it, you've got the department or the county or whoever is collecting samples, taking that back to test, doing the quality assurance testing to make sure that those specs are met. We talked about sustainability. I mentioned that we can recycle the asphalt pavement back into the mixtures. A lot of people don't know this, but asphalt pavements are the most recycled product in America. First time I heard that when I got into the asphalt industry, I was like, really? I thought cans or bottles or something, but asphalt pavement is by far the most recycled material by hundreds of thousands of tons each year. In 2021, we had over 94 million tons of recycled asphalt pavement. That saved pavement owners nearly $3 billion. The National Asphalt Pavement Association, they do a study every year. They poll all the contractors across the country to find out how much RAP they're being used so they can come up with these numbers. In contrast, I think in 2009, there was like 50 million tons. So we've doubled here in the last 12 years how much RAP we're using in our pavements. And really that's equivalent to the 94 million tons here in 2021. That's the last published year that they have. That's equivalent to removing 2.6 million metric tons of CO2, greenhouse gas, from the environment, or removing 570,000 passenger vehicles from the road. So, and these, like I said, these numbers continue to increase each year.
So in summary, as Chuck mentioned, there's a lot of investment here, whether it be employees or land or asphalt plants or equipment out on the road to lay all this stuff down. In part of that investment, there's 30,000 people roughly employed in this industry, $5 billion spent, and 15 million tons today being laid down. It's a rather big undertaking that it really depends on having the transportation funding, whether that be from the owner's perspective, in this case the DOT having the ability to see what's available to plan, or the contractors being able to decide whether or not they want to put up a new asphalt plant or hire more people, buy more equipment. That doesn't happen overnight. So having that long-term adequate sustainable funding is definitely important to the industry. And with that, I'll leave us here with a video that we put together on the, I think it'll play here.
There's a story behind every barrel, on any road, at any site. A newly paved asphalt road is the finished result ready for vehicles. However, there is much more to creating asphalt pavement than just where rubber meets road. Asphalt is an art involving a bit of science and innovative technology built by a skilled workforce. Beginning with a mix of recycled materials, stone, sand, and asphalt cement, the asphalt mix is carefully heated and assembled before it's loaded into transport trucks. The load is then taken to the project site and transferred to the paver. The paving crew dials in the equipment to the appropriate thickness, width, and smoothness as required for the project. Once the asphalt material is placed, rollers are used to compact the mixture, completing the construction process. The final steps involve applying paint and shoulder material where necessary. Upon completion, the roadway is open to traffic for the public to enjoy a smooth, quiet asphalt pavement for many years to come.
Questions, so by all means, thank you for your time.
Oh, I was looking at the this here. Very interesting presentation. Really appreciate you guys taking the time to come before the committee today. We do have a couple questions, so we can get started off with Representative Coons.
Thank you all for coming here today. Chuck, I would like to push back that engineering is never boring. So I'd like to go on that. My question is, how is it determined when a road is asphalt or concrete? Without getting into the nuances of 51, can you explain that to us in general terms, please?
Yeah. Engineering is exciting to some of us. Thanks, Tom. Yeah, basically, MDOT has a process that they go through. It's called life cycle cost analysis, and there's a law in the books that they have to do that if there's more than $1.5 million, is it now? Yep. Of pavement costs. Then they have to go through this life cycle cost analysis process to decide if it's going to be concrete or asphalt when they're reconstructing a road or doing a major rehab. There's a lot of rules there, but there's basically a process set up, and the Asphalt Pavement Association, the Michigan Concrete Association, MDOT, we all get together every so often and kind of define that whole process. So, yeah, without getting into all the little details, that's how we do it.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, so it's a financial decision on when a road is asphalt or concrete, and that's reviewed how often?
Every 4 years, we go through the process review. And then,
But that decision is made by MDOT. I mean, no offense, we can't ask the Asphalt Pavers Association if it should be asphalt or not. Who makes the decision?
Yes, MDOT makes that decision, yep. They
Thank
have
you.
a formula they go through, and it's based on a lot of data. 'Cause, we have performance curves for, the last 30, 40 years that MDOT looks at, and then they combine that with the costs that they keep track of. So they're looking at, user delay costs, maintenance costs over time, salvage values, remaining service life, all that stuff is taken into account to, as we say, make the sausage to come up with a number. We call it equivalent uniform annualized cost. So basically, if I'm going to build it in concrete, here's my EUAC number, and if I'm going to build it in asphalt, here's the EUAC. Whatever one's lower, and as long as they're within, greater than 10% difference, then that pavement type is selected. If they're within 10%, then it's eligible for what they do is an alternate pavement bid. So they'll bid an asphalt versus a concrete right at the same time of bid.
Thank you, Chuck. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Hopefully I didn't get into too many details there.
Not nearly enough.
We could spend a lot of time going through the whole thing.
Representative Bruck.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chuck and friends, I'll say. Can't remember all your names. We have a Army saying, slow is smooth, smooth is fast. That might apply to your guys' line of work. You could steal that. But I had a question. Rep. Kuhn actually stole my question without knowing it. But with the increased weight limits in Michigan, the usage of salt, the environment, etc., cold thaw cycles. And my question was going to be, what's better, concrete or asphalt? But how is your industry addressing those issues? Are there newer things on the horizon? Because I travel a lot and I see concrete, new concrete, Spalding, etc. Obviously something was wrong, but we see our roads crack. Is there something that you're doing or can do different that is helping with the longevity? And then my follow-up question is, does chip and seal provider, do they fall under your association as well?
Yeah, I'll start.
All right, you start.
For the first part of the question, I mean, what we've done to, as an association, along with our members, we've really focused on maintaining a high level of quality and incorporating improvements over the years. And it's really helped with our life cycle cost analysis has been improving over the years. So our service life has been extended, our maintenance costs have come down because we've focused on things that make our product more durable. I'll point to, in 2014, we saw the DOT goes through changes over time. There's new processes for doing mixed designs. I won't bore you with all the details, but we understood that there were some issues when we went to, some super paved mixes. Well, we made some changes. We lowered the gyration levels and got more asphalt in the mix to make them more durable. So we're seeing the fruits of those types of decisions to increase our performance over the years. So I'll say that, that along with, there's a lot of new additives and chemistries coming online that people are looking at as, further ways that we can incorporate things into our mixtures that'll make them, more cost effective and still last a long time and those types of things. We've looked at, perpetual pavement design. We can design pavements as what we call a perpetual pavement. So if we design it a little bit thicker to start with, we'll never have to go in there and tear out the whole pavement. We can just mill and resurface the surface of that pavement every, 15 years, 20 years or so, and we'll never have to go in there and rip the whole thing out again. So there's a lot of different things, but I'd say really we've always been focused on quality, and I think that has really helped us, step up our game. I'll say in the old days, asphalt was the cheap material that you just used to patch things and all that. Well, asphalt can be designed to last just as long or longer than any other pavements. I mean, you can really make it last.
And I'd add on to that. There's before I started in the business, I would have thought, you take some rocks and you heat them up and you throw some black sticky stuff on them. It's not rocket science. There are people with PhDs in this industry that's all they spend is their time doing performance testing, looking at forecasting how that material perform. There's a place in Auburn, Alabama. There's a place in Minnesota. They run trucks. They pave the stuff down. They run trucks and they instrument it and they actually look at performance to kind of accelerate that time frame so we know what's going to perform. So we try something new, we add more recycle, we add some of these products that Chuck was talking about. We can actually kind of vet those out and then put them into practice, whether they, if they perform, we put them into practice. So there's a lot of science and engineering and research that goes into to the product before it gets laid down. And then to answer your second question, the chip sealers are not part of our association.
Okay, I do appreciate that, and I guess just to find out, is Michigan harder with the weight limits? Because I know we have higher truck limits, weight limits, and then the usage of salt. Do you take an opinion on that as far as from your association? Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, it all comes down to the design process. So you tell us what the weight is, and we can design the pavement. So the thickness may increase. That's basically how you carry more weight. So.
Can I follow up on that as well on the weight issue? Michigan is by the by the axle load. So we work in both Indiana and Michigan. I work with Reith Riley Construction, and the actual axle weight in Michigan is less than what it is in Indiana. So we carry the big trucks with the 8 axles can carry more total weight, but it's spread out over more axles. So it's just as it's equal on the road.
And I will just add to that this part of the conversation also is I don't know where this misconception came that we don't use the best materials that are available to us. I would assume that you would attest that we'd use the best materials that are available to us. But for some reason, the public has got it in their minds that we don't. So do you want to just comment on that?
Yeah, hopefully what we've been talking about is, you know, all this research that is going on. Yeah, we believe we are using the best materials. I mean, maybe we're not using the best fix at the best time, and that's why some people think that we're not using the best materials. And that comes down to a funding issue. I mean, and that's where I think, you know, some of the public doesn't understand that. I'll have friends ask me all the time, well, why is this road falling apart? Well, we just overlaid it, but it really needs to be reconstructed, but we don't have the money for it. So that overlay isn't going to magically last 20, 30 years. It's, you know, lucky if we get 2 or 3 out of it.
Yeah, and you are 100% correct that it is a funding issue. I believe it was MIDA that gave a presentation early on in the term talking about how much money states around us put into their road funds, and it's shocking how much more they put into their road funds to be able to maintain those on an ongoing basis instead of just trying to tackle emergencies. So thank you for commenting on that. Representative Conlon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for coming today. You said something at the very end that piqued my interest because you said quieter, that it's quieter. So I have a lot of constituents currently complaining in the Ann Arbor area, probably because of all the football traffic in the fall, but that it's just super noisy by schools, by residential areas. I guess it's been that way for a while. Is it taken into account by MDOT, you know, and these constituents want a noise study done, which I found out is very confusing, so I don't know if that's going to happen. But is it taken into account, like, oh, let's use asphalt because it's quieter? And are you really quieter?
Yeah. Yes, we are quieter. There's been a lot of studies that show the decibel reduction, and there's different mixtures that we can use that are even more quieter. You use an open graded mixture, and it absorbs more of the sound that doesn't get out, and that's all been done in studies. MDOT does do sound studies sometimes when, you know, it's usually a population density thing, and that's why you'll see, you know, sound walls being built along freeways and things like that. We've tried to educate them a little more on, you know, if you use some asphalt, maybe you wouldn't need those. But some of those things are, well, this is the way we've always done it, and it hasn't changed yet.
So I mean, in the pavement type selection process,
It's
noise is not something that is considered, and I think it'd be very difficult to kind of try to put a handle on that, because there's a lot of variables involved with noise. That are, you know, way above my head when you get into like density of air and everything, and how noise travels, tire interaction with pavement. Like it gets complicated in a hurry.
Representative Roth.
Don't want to go too depth here, but as I toured an asphalt facility, they got little professors there with little heaters, you know, melting all the asphalt, see what's in it. What are the requirements, or is it required of each facility to have someone on duty or on staff to actually test the quality?
Yes. So the contractor is performing quality control, so they're responsible for the quality of the process, and then the owner, in this case MDOT, handles the quality assurance. So it's getting tested. I would argue probably 2.5 to 3 times. So the contractor is usually doing 2-to-1 testing over what the owner's doing to make sure they have a handle on it. Because by the time they sample it, take it back to MDOT's lab, and then turn it around, it could be up to 4 days. So the contractor needs to know where they're at before that. So they're testing, you know, probably anywhere from 4 to 14 samples a day out of an asphalt plant, and then the owner is testing at their frequency as well. So it gets tested, and that's the loose mix at the plant. Then, as Chuck alluded to, out on the roadway, there's a whole nother gamut of testing, whether that be density, and then there's ride quality that's tested at the very end. So there's a lot of testing that goes into the process to ensure that the quality's there.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other questions? Doesn't look like it. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your presentation today. Really do appreciate it. So we don't have any absent members, so there being no further business before the committee will stand adjourned.